Alright, so a breakdown of the build that I'm currently running. This is for PvP. Main weapon, bingo. It's a 3-star, 10 calibration. What you really want to look for the calibration blueprint would be rapid shot, weak spot, weak spot. That's like the most ideal. As far as the mod on it, I'm running a combination of either Hunter's Perk or Vulnerability Amplifier. I use both of these weapons, and both of those are good mods to use. As far as the substats on mods that you want for this build, you would mainly focus on weapon damage, weak spot damage, and probably HP for PvP. Anyway, the one that I have on this is marked enemies deal 20% less damage against metas. Great for PvP. If you're shooting at somebody and you have them marked with Bullseye, which this is guaranteed to land when you weapon swap, they're doing 20% less damage, which is fucking great. This one's pretty solid. Weak spot, HP, weapon damage. Almost always mods will have a substat that is damage against either Great Ones, Elites, or Normal. Technically, it is possible to get rolls without that. Those are PvE stats. So ideally, you would find mods that have no damage against Great Ones, Elites, or Normals. Definitely skip mods that have 2 substats with Great Ones, Elites, and Normals. You don't want to use those. It is a very, very, very slim chance that you can get them without any of those, but it's very uncommon, so it's quite hard to find a mod that rolls all 4 without any of those PvE damage modifiers. So anyway, that's the weapon I'm using. Definitely want the calibration for rapid shot. Ideally, rapid shot, weak spot, but the most important is rapid shot. That just lets you extremely quickly. Back to the build. Second weapon has the wildfire. For a bullseye build, this is an absolutely insane secondary. 60% chance to trigger bullseye when hitting, so no special conditions, just as you shoot you will trigger bullseye. In combination with these boots, when you trigger bullseye, the next one bullet will count as weak spot, even if it does not hit the weak spot. So you can just spam this into their body, and you'll start getting essentially headshots. 80% chance to spread bullseye, so that's nice when you're in PvP. Everybody just starts getting lit up, and you can see where they are through walls. And if it doesn't spread, you get plus 25% weapon damage for 10 seconds. And as you hit weak spots of marked enemies, you get attack plus 3% up to 3 stacks for 10 seconds. And again, because of these boots, every time you trigger a bullseye, the follow-up shot is a weak spot hit guaranteed. So you can literally just spam this you're building up those stacks of attack damage, as well as the weapon damage plus 25%. So when you lead with this, and then you swap to your bingo sniper rifle, it is absolutely insane how much you can hit. You can just one-tap people. 3-piece I'm running currently is Bastille. I'm kind of not happy with it because I'm running and gunning a lot. I don't really sit still. But either way, it is nice to have the 20% reload speed and the 10% weapon damage when your HP is above 70. But that Bastille state when you crouch down, dealing another 40% weapon damage, but you have to be immobile. You can't be crouched and walking. Crouched and immobile. It does pair well with this Predator. You take a Predator, and when this decides to work in PvP, it's actually very strong, because you can get up into a sniper spot, sit still, and now you have Predator buff and Bastille on whatever you shoot. And the Predator buff, as you can see here, where is it? Disengage and crouch for 3 seconds to enter stealth. Your next attack deals 50% more weak spot damage. So you can be sitting still with the 50% weak spot damage from Predator, as well as 40% weapon damage from Bastille. So in PvP, if you actually can find some time to sit still and snipe, you can hit like a truck for sure. I may switch up this 3-piece, but for now it works. The boots, absolute must-have. We talked about those earlier. After triggering bullseye, the next one bullet will count as weak spot hits, even if they do not hit the weak spot, as well as weak spot damage plus 30% to enemies affected by the bullseye. You can spread around bullseye with this. You can also weapon swap from here to the bingo, and as you can see, after switching to this weapon, the first hit will trigger the bullseye. and 70% chance to trigger bullseye on weak spot hit. So what you can do is you can just do this, swap back to your sniper. Now this hit is guaranteed to apply bullseye. And when you apply bullseye, because of the shoes, the next bullet is going to be a weak spot hit. And when you hit a weak spot with this sniper, 70% chance to trigger bullseye. And if you trigger bullseye, the next bullet is a guaranteed weak spot hit. So you can hit 3 body shots in a row that quickly on 3 different people, and all of them count as headshots. You know, if you get that 70% chance proc, because of the pairing with the boots, it's absolutely crazy. You'll proc weaks. You're not guaranteed to proc bullseye, but you are guaranteed to weak spot if you do proc bullseye, and it's 70% chance when you hit weak spot to proc bullseye, and it can just chain itself. So you can just get tons of crits, or not crits, but you can get tons of weak spot hits back to back. This is why these boots are absolutely mandatory. You can do a 3-piece or a 4-piece. I may look into doing a 4-piece savior, or I don't know, some of the other legendary armors, but these are absolutely mandatory. 3-piece is kind of up to you. I have 2 1-pieces. I have a 5-star heavy-duty top, the 1 set piece being 10% max HP. This 4-star heavy-duty top is actually better than a 1-star legendary. And then these 4-star scout pants are about the same as a legendary. So this is essentially a legendary with a 10% HP set effect, and the same thing with this 10% HP set effect. So I have 17,701, about 17,000 HP, which is solid for PvP. You can take some hits. These, out of the optional one, I would say you could drop scout pants because they're not as good. They're blue. The heavy-duty top, though, 5-star heavy-duty top is really solid. You can use this for a while, and you can totally, if you don't waste your blueprint fragments, you can get this out of the season and fully upgrade it without having to buy anything from the wish machine. You can just find all the blueprint fragments from the mystical crates in these settlements and fully upgrade 1 piece of heavy-duty. And same thing with scout pants. You can pick 1 piece, fully upgrade it. So these are almost like 2 legendaries with just 1 piece, 10% max HP, which is solid. Going back into the mods for the weapons, I don't know if I really touched on that. The marked enemies damage versus meta is minus 20%, and then the other one is Bullseye adds an additional 8% vulnerability. Bullseye already adds vulnerability, and that just adds another 8%. So it's really built around spreading Bullseye around, proccing Bullseye, and getting free weak spot hits because of these boots. Going into the mods for the actual armor pieces, this is definitely what you want for the headpiece. Precise strike with ideally precision or weapon damage. Weak spot damage and weapon damage are both extremely strong for this build. You don't do any status damage, so you don't want additional status damage. You could do status damage reduction, which means you take less status damage, and those bomber builds, power surge builds, icy vortex builds are quite common in PvP, so reducing status damage taken is pretty good. Max HP is always welcome, mag capacity always welcome, reload speed always welcome, but really for this build you at least want weak spot or weapon damage on all of your pieces, because it just makes you hit like a truck. So precise strike hitting a weak spot grants weak spot damage plus 12% for 3 seconds, can stack 3 times. So again, you're hitting weak spots by hitting body shots with the pistol or swapping to the sniper rifle and just shooting the bullseye. And you're proccing bullseye while you're doing it. So you're just getting tons of weak spot hits, and this is just building up. And that's additional damage. Most wanted, every time an enemy is marked, so every time you trigger bullseye, you get attack plus 5% for 8 seconds, can stack. You're pretty much going to always have this stacked up 3 times, so that's another 15% damage. Attack plus 15% is essentially 15% weapon damage. Munitions amplifier, you can either do this or weak spot. I just happen to have a pretty strong munitions amplifier, so it's 15% weapon damage and then 9% weak spot and 2.4% weapon damage on the rolls. This one's pretty good too, 25% weak spot plus 3.6% weak spot. This overall will hit harder because weapon damage is actually a little bit more valuable than weak spot damage, just based on the way that it calculates. This one is a little more defensive. You can see 6% status damage reduction and then 6.4 head damage reduction. I believe that counts as weak spot, just weak spot damage reduction. I don't know that 100%. It may only be head. So like, for instance, if someone running this build is shooting at me and they're getting those guaranteed weak spot hits due to the boots and they're shooting at me, I don't know if this head damage reduction will reduce those hits, because technically they could be hitting me in the body and doing a guaranteed weak spot. So I believe it's weak spot damage reduction, but I don't know for sure, which makes me kind of want to run this one. This would be really strong in overall reducing the amount of damage you're taking. This is a little more defensive, but this one will output more damage. Either one, you want either weak spot damage boost or you want munitions amplifier. What you choose is really going to be dependent on the substats that roll in the mod. But anyway, that's what's in the glove slot. For the boots, 100% you want covered advance, taking no damage for 4 seconds. Grants you 20% additional damage for 30 seconds, and it'll last despite if you're taking damage or not. So once that buff pops on you, once that 30-second buff lands, you're good to go. It doesn't matter if you're taking damage during that. Once it ends, obviously you need another 4-second period where you don't take any damage, but this is up almost all the time. The one I got is weak spot, mag cap, and max HP, so all useful stats. Next one, for the top, you have choices. Life Force Boost is a solid one. I was running Resisted Advantage for a little while, but it's kind of bugged. You should be getting stacks up to 5, and I've seen it where I'm sitting around and it just stacks to 1. And I'm not taking any damage, I'm out of combat, and it just stops stacking. So this is kind of bugged. So and there's another one where you get a shield. Where is it? Enduring shield when out of combat. Similar to this one. This is more if you're fighting against snipers, because it's 1 stack of damage reduction. Each time you get hit, 1 stack is removed. If you're fighting against somebody with an automatic weapon, this is going to fall off of you very, very quickly and not going to do much for you. However, if you're fighting against a sniper, it's very good because it can stack up to 5 times. That's 50% DR, and snipers don't output as many bullets. So 50% off the first shot, 40% off the second shot, 30% off the third shot. So this is quite valuable if it worked right. This one is a little bit similar. However, it gives you, each time it's removed, you get an 8% damage shield. So this would be probably more effective against automatic weapons because they'll remove all those. They'll remove the stacks, and then once you take 5 damage after they get through that shield, you'll get another 8% shield. So it's 5 times 8%. You get 40% damage shield if this fully stacks up, which is solid. This one is potential. The critical rescue, I'm considering running this in combination with Savior and definitely Living Armor. This is very strong with Living Armor. And then you can always also just run a 12% HP for PvP. Really, again, kind of depends on the substats. What you choose is a little bit up to you. You can also do the blue mods, although I don't really recommend it because you get less stats and you get lower damage or lower stat ranges. So probably just Life Force Boost would be all around for PvP because you just get 12% HP. That's super strong. If the other ones worked right, or if these other mods worked correctly, Enduring Shield could potentially be really strong, but you do have to be out of combat for 25 seconds. This would be probably good to run like right off spawn, and then after you die and you're jumping straight back into combat without any downtime, maybe swap over to the HP. I'm not sure, but the chest is a little bit of a kind of up to you slot because all of the perks that come in the chest are kind of but Critical Rescue would definitely have some applications with Savior set. It would have some synergy there. I'm considering doing that, but that's what I have for now. Life Force Boost would also be a good one. And then last but not least, the pants. You have 2 choices here. I'm doing 3 strikes precision because I have a good one. It's weak spot damage, weapon damage, and status damage reduction. And it's pretty solid rolls. I wish it was a purple weapon damage substat and a gray damage against elite substat, but just is what it is. It's how it was when I upgraded it. The other one you have is Unstoppable. Weak spot damage plus 20% when a bullet hits a target more than 20 meters away. For each additional meter from the target, weak spot damage plus 1% up to 20%. So essentially, if the target is 20 meters away, you'll do 20%. If they're 40 meters away, you'll do plus 40% weak spot damage. From the wars that I've been running, I'm not really that far away, and that's kind of also why I'm leaning against Bastille. But this would pair well with Bastille if you're just going to be in the back, crouch down, sniping, and you're far away. It's guaranteed 40% weak spot damage. But when you're up in people's faces, this does literally nothing for you. However, 3 strikes, first 3 hits after reloading, weak spot plus 50. So this is higher than the cap on this, and you can use it up close. However, it's only for the first 3 hits. It's half of the mag. If you have a little bit of mag size expansion on your sniper, instead of 5 shots, you can get 6 shots. So your first 3 will count as 50% additional weak spot damage. Same thing with the pistol. Kind of depends on what situations you find yourself in and what you choose for this mod slot. But either Unstoppable or first 3 strikes are what you're looking for, because they're the only ones in the pants slot that'll give you weak spot damage. What you pick may just depend on your substats or just how you want to play. If you want to be up in people's faces, 3 strikes. Or if you find yourself to be up in people's faces, even if you don't want to be, 3 strikes. And if you're going to be kind of further back, Unstoppable. So yeah, it's a little bit up to you on this slot. It's a little bit up to you on this slot. But this one for sure, you want Precise Strike. This one for sure, you want Most Wanted. This one for sure, you want either Munitions Amplifier or Weak Spot Damage Boost. And then this one for sure, you want Covered Advance. And then the weapons, for sure you want Vulnerability, and you want Hunter's Perk for PvP. Which one you run in which gun doesn't really matter. I like doing Vulnerability on Bullseye for my pistol, because the pistol is really what spreads Bullseye around, and you can end up marking multiple people, and your whole team benefits from this. So that can be helpful. And then marked enemies damage against people. I put this in my main gun because if I'm fighting like one-on-one with somebody, I'm shooting them with this, they're doing less damage to me. So the person you're fighting is doing less damage to you, but everyone you're marking is taking more damage from everybody on your team. So that's my reasoning. You could flip them around, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, that's my gear and my mods. And yeah, essentially, I think I said, mods you really want weak spot and weapon damage. HP is solid, magazine capacity is solid, reload speed is solid, but definitely you don't want 2 of the PvE substats, the damage against great ones, normal, and elite. If you have a mod that's got 2 of those, just go farm wherever it comes from and replace it with one that only has 1 PvE substat. Ideally, you'd have no PvE substats. It's super hard to find those mods. So unfortunately, this is just what I'm rolling for right now. Next would be my Cradle. This is pretty straightforward for a Bullseye build. I'm using a sniper, so sniper enhancement, pistol enhancement for this line, agility. And when you roll, you take less damage. Rapid aid, you can heal more often and your heals are stronger. Brawl boost, take 20% less damage from people. When you swap weapons, you get weapon damage. You're always going to be swapping weapons in this build anyway, because swapping is what triggers your guaranteed bullseye with your sniper. Steady hand. First part, while in Fortress Warfare or Fast Gunner, weak spot plus 40, that's irrelevant, but weak spot damage to the bullseye plus 20%, that's what we want. We're doing 20% additional damage to bullseye. And then after you defeat a unit you marked, so after you kill your bullseye, you get 25% weapon damage and 35% weak spot damage for 15 seconds. This is absolutely fucking massive. So if you can kill one person, now you're a, you're a walking artillery for 15 seconds. I don't know, I wouldn't really consider dropping this for sprint. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you could drop agility for sprint. I'm not running sprint on this build. You could maybe drop handgun for sprint if you really want it, but 5% movement speed isn't huge. and you can always have your melee weapon with a light striker style. Where is it? There, 12.5% movement speed. As long as you calibrate it to level 4 and you put a light striker on it, that way you can move faster with your melee weapon if you're running around, and then when you swap, shoot somebody like that. But if you're just trying to cover ground, you can use your melee weapon. Anyway, I believe that's everything. Covered the cradle, the gear. I don't know what else there is. Anyway, yep, cool. See y'all later.